Hi everyone, this is Sagar Shah and I'm going to take you through game 3 of the World Championship match between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Magnus Carlsen. In the first game, Nepo opened the game with 1 e4 and everyone was wondering whether he would go for c4 in this game or some other move. But Vishy Anand very cleverly noted that because the rest day is going to come after 3 rounds, he won't change his opening, because generally in order to change your opening you need a little bit of time to go over all the analysis of your opponent's responses. So that's why Nepo would go e4. That's what Vishy predicted and he did that. He did exactly that. He played e4, e5 by Magnus, knight to f3, knight c6 and the Ruy Lopez on the board. a6 was played attacking the bishop. Bishop went back, knight to f6 and now short castles. Closed Ruy Lopez with bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop b3. Thousands of games have been played with this move order and now black castled. Now as we know, Carlsen is aiming to play the martial attack. So if you go c3 here, he will play d5. That is why Nepo went for anti-martial in game 1 with h3. And in this game, he decided to play another anti-martial with a4, which is also very popular, and Carlsen would have expected that Nepo will play this. So Magnus said, okay, now the threat is AB, AB, and the rook would hang on a8. So he developed his bishop to b7. d3 was played. A very important advice was given to me by Hans Niemann, who was there at the venue. I asked him whether the move c3 is possible in this position or not, and he said that you usually don't mix a4 and c3. So d3 is much better, and black went d6, knight d2. This position, the main line is knight a5, bishop a2, c5. The other main move in this position is knight d7, second main move. The third main move in this position is queen d7. Only the fourth move here is rook e8. And this is what Magnus Carlsen played here, rook e8. And this took, I'm sure, Jan by slight surprise. He said that he had prepared it beforehand, but it was something that has not been recently played. Although there are close to 70-75 games with this move, it has not been played by top players in the recent past. We have games of Ivan Chuk and also Michael Adams from late 1990s and early 2000s. The idea of this move is simple. You want to drop your bishop back to f8 and then eventually transfer your knight from e7 to g6, looking for the d5 breakthrough. That is what black wants to do. Nepo went knight f1, h6, stopping knight g5 ideas so that there is no problem here. Bishop d2. Now knight a5 is impossible because the knight will hang. So bishop f8, and now came knight to e3. If you went knight g3 here, there is a very nice move for black, which is knight b8. Very much in the spirit of the Breyer, you bring your knight from d7 and then push your pawn to c5. So my first question to all of you here is that after knight e3, Magnus went knight e7, which is a very decent move. What is the problem with the move knight to b8? Just the same concept. You want to put your knight on d7, you want to play c5. Why is this move bad? Try to think, try to calm down and figure out what is white's best move in this position. It's a quite an instructive moment. Okay, I hope you were able to find this very, very nice move. It's not an easy one, which is g4. And it's very, very strong. The main point is that you are going g5 in the position to attack the knight, and then after knight g5 you are putting pressure on f7. Notice that d5 does not work. Generally a break in the a flank attack should be met with a break in the center, but then g5 is anyway very strong. So knight e3, Magnus went knight e7, and now Nepo played an interesting move c4. Swidler versus Adams. We have reached this position from 1997, and Adams had played a very solid move here, c6. The game had eventually drawn. This is how it went. black got the d5 break, and actually without too many difficulties black had managed to hold a draw here. In fact, black was doing very well. But Magnus took on c4, and this is where the game started getting very intense, because now Nepo took on c4 and his threat is very big. I'll ask you, if let's say I play rook b8 in the position in order to meet your knight a5 with bishop a8, what is the move here that white should play? White to play, try to pause the video and figure out. So the move here is to take on e5 with either of your knights. Both are very good. Knight c e5, knight d e5, knight e5, and the f7 pawn is falling. It's actually trouble time for you. You could also take with the other knight. It leads to the same position. So that's why Magnus now played the move knight c6. He's killing two threats at the same time. Now the knight cannot come to a5. Also e5 square is now guarded by his knight on c6. But here he played rook c1. And now Nepo has another threat, which is to go knight to a5, knight a5 and bishop a5, by which this pawn on c7 will come under attack from the rook and the bishop. Notice that if you did that right now, then after takes, black safely comes out of the pin with queen d7, and after rook c1 plays the pawn to c5, and black is doing very well here. So that's the reason why rook c1 made a lot of sense. And now if you try to preempt the move knight a5 and play queen d7, it fails to the move a5. And now bishop is popping out here. It's going to pin here. It is troublesome position. So Magnus once again had a lot of thinking to do, and he came up with this very provocative move a5. Why do I call it provocative? Notice the red color that comes on the pawn. It means that this pawn is now a weakness. It can be attacked by the knight and the bishop. Two times, it's defended twice. And so Nepo, clearly realizing that this is a weakness, goes bishop c3. Because he wants to play his queen to d2 and put three pressures there when the pawn will become undefendable. It's black to play now. Pause your video and try to figure out what did Magnus Carlsen do here. Very nice move. So Magnus played the move bishop c8. Kudos to you if you found this move. It's very difficult to find. It's tremendous move. The point is, if you go queen d2 now, I am putting my bishop on e6. And now you can no longer take on a5. First of all, you cannot take with the bishop, because if you take with the bishop, I'm going to take on c4. And then I'll take on a5. I'll be a piece up. If you take with the knight, I'm going to take on b3. If you take back here, then I have rook takes a4. Black is doing very well. If you take on c6, I'm going queen d7. Once again, black is doing excellently in this position. So that's the reason why bishop c8 was a classy move and queen d2 doesn't win a pawn. So Nepo played the most natural move here, d4. But after takes, queen takes, we come to a position where black is able to play bishop e6. Once again, a very nice move. At this point, Nepo started to realize that his position is optically looking great, but he's not able to cash in. Say for example, you want to take on a5, then bishop c4, and you lose the piece on a5, so you can't take with the bishop. If you take with the knight, then here comes a very powerful move, which is c5. And you attack the queen and you attack the knight here twice. So you have to go back queen d2 when I can take here, knight takes, and now the e4 pawn is hanging. Black is better. The other move which here could make sense and which Nepo was thinking very carefully was knight d2. And this was also mentioned in the post-game conference, that after knight d2, what should black do here? And Magnus said that he was thinking for some compensation for a pawn, and they had seen this variation which went d5. Very nice move. By the way, you can also take on b3 and then play d5, but I think d5 directly. Pawn takes, knight takes, and now you take here. You can't take with the bishop because then rook takes e8 and d5 is hanging. So you take with the queen. queen takes d5, bishop takes d5, rook e8, rook e8. The reason why I took the rooks is because now the a pawn is hanging, bishop takes a5, and now Magnus calculated this very important line, rook a8, attacking the bishop. You would like to save this with the move b4, but it fails to a very nice move c5. Your bishop is hanging and black is doing very well. So therefore you play bishop takes c7, rook takes a4, bishop e5, f6, bishop comes back, and here Magnus said he'll just bring his king out, play g5, play h5, and with these two bishops he cannot be worse in such a position. That is the level of understanding these players have. Truly phenomenal understanding. So the other move here was queen d3. Why am I analyzing this position deeply? Is because this is the key moment of the game. If Nepo can't do anything here, he will be, the position will be equal like it happened in the game. The idea of queen d3 is that you want to stop d5. If you are successfully able to stop d5 and get like knight d2 here, and then you are able to take on b3 and then attack this pawn, white will be better. But here also d5, very strong move. And then after bishop f6 makes sense, because if you take ed5, that is knight d5. Even this position has to be carefully calculated after bishop e5, bishop a5. What is happening here? It's unclear. Maybe black has compensation with knight b4. I think he is doing okay, like queen d8, rook a d8. But bishop takes f6 is even more critical, because after queen f6 you take on d5, attacking the bishop on e6. But now you go bishop f5, and once again here this is compensation. So in all positions what Magnus wanted to do was play d5 and then use his two bishops to gain compensation in the position. But Nepo played h3, and now Magnus didn't even have to go directly d5, which was also a fine move here. He went c6 with the idea of d5, and it so happens that black has equalized. Bishop c2, d5. If you take on d5, I will take with the knight and pick up your bishop on c3. He played e5, d takes c4, queen takes d8, rook e d8, ef6, and now an important move here to equalize completely. Black to play. What would you do? Try to pause the video and figure out. The right move here is bishop b4. Well done if you found this move, because after fg7 you take on c3, bc3 and king g7. And although black structure is broken and not really good, the pawns are doubled on the c file. The main thing in his favor is the activity of his pieces. His rook is open on the d file, the other rook is coming via the b file, and here after king f1, rook b8, the rooks were traded down the b file, and the players agreed to a draw very soon in this bishop endgame. It is not possible for white to make use of his extra pawn on the king side, because black has so much space with his king and f pawn. The players repeated and agreed to a draw. It was a very, very exciting and a fascinating game. Once again, Magnus was the one who brought out some new ideas in the opening, just like in this match with this move, rook e8. Jan played very well, tried to put as much pressure, but Magnus was up to the task, and the game finally ended in a draw. I'm enjoying this World Championship match. I hope you enjoyed this recap as well. We'll be bringing you more stuff. Right now the score is 1.5, 1.5 with 3 draws. Today is a rest day. Tomorrow will be the 4th game. Stay tuned. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye bye.